So, here's a question for the audience. How do you feel about a mysterious group of people having the final say in who becomes president, regardless of who you actually voted for? Weird, right? Welcome to the Electoral College, the institution that can make your vote feel more like a polite suggestion. And if this all sounds bizarre in a democracy, well, you're not wrong. Because in two of the last three presidential elections, the person who got the most votes still didn't win. Yep, that happened. Twice. Recently. Democracy, proudly brought to you by technicalities, legal finessing, and 18th century compromise. Now, here's something that might surprise you. The term Electoral College is nowhere in the Constitution. Zilch. Nada. Instead, you'll find a reference to electors in Article 2 and the 12th Amendment. So, where did this college come from, and why does it have so much power? No, obviously, it's not a literal college, but at the Constitutional Convention, there were two factions. One side wanted a popular vote to elect the president. You know, democracy. The other side said, let Congress do it. Because nothing says fairness like letting politicians pick other politicians. Actually, the proponents of this view were concerned that the rabble would not pick a desired candidate, but eventually, they landed on a compromise. A group of electors would vote for the president on behalf of the people. The idea was to avoid the corruptibility of Congress, while still keeping a tight leash on the dreaded Democratic mob. You know, regular people voting. Shudder to think of it. But let's not kid ourselves. The Electoral College wasn't just about structure, it was about slavery. See, in the 1700s, nearly 40% of the Southern population were enslaved. The Southern states said, if we can't count our slaves toward representation, we'll have no political power. So, in a dark twist of logic, the infamous 3/5 compromise was born. Enslaved black people would count as 3/5 of a person for the purpose of representation, and by extension, electoral votes. The Electoral College was the mechanism that balanced slave state power with northern populations. Balanced, of course, in the way a seesaw is balanced when one side is sitting on a bag of bricks. Here's the kicker. When you vote for president, you're not voting for the president. You're voting for electors, who promise to vote for your candidate. But promises are like campaign slogans. Nice to hear, rarely enforced. History has shown us that electors don't always follow the will of the people. Oh, and if the president and VP are from the same state as the elector, that elector can only vote for one of them. Let's take a trip through history and relive some of the Electoral College's greatest hits. Scene, 1824. Election, Andrew Jackson versus John Quincy Adams. Andrew Jackson got the most electoral votes, but not enough to win. So the House of Representatives stepped in, and guess what? John Quincy Adams, who had fewer votes, won. Speaker of the House. Henry Clay, who just happened to be eliminated from contention, threw his support to Adams, and Adams made Clay his Secretary of State. Jackson called it a corrupt bargain. Today, we'd call it a LinkedIn power move. Scene, 1876. Election, Tilden versus Hayes. Samuel Tilden won more votes, again, both popular and electoral. But Florida, Louisiana, and South Carolina were contested. Congress formed a special commission made up of House members, senators, and Supreme Court justices to sort it out. Because nothing screams impartiality like asking politicians to referee their own political brawl. The result? Rutherford B. Hayes wins by one electoral vote. Tilden supporters get Reconstruction gutted in return. Scene, 1888, Cleveland versus Harrison. Grover. Cleveland won the popular vote by 90,000, but Benjamin Harrison took the Electoral College. Enter floaters. No, not pool toys. Political mercenaries, people who sold their votes to the highest bidder. The kind of electoral innovation that makes ballot stuffing look quaint. Scene, 2000, Gore versus Bush. Al Gore won by 500,000 votes. But Florida was too close to call. The Secretary of State overseeing the vote count? Katherine Harris, former co-chair of Bush's Florida campaign. The governor of Florida? Jeb Bush, George's brother. After a messy recount and a legal battle that made a soap opera look simple, the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 in Bush's favor. That's one way to win an election. Just lose the vote and win the litigation. Scene 2016. Trump versus Clinton. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by some 3 million votes. But Trump swept the electoral map, especially in battleground states. Why? Because electoral votes aren't handed out by population, but rather distributed by state. Therefore, given smaller states disproportionately more say, Hillary dominated metropolitan centers, Trump the rural areas. The result? Trump wins 304 electoral votes and Hillary wins 227. Democracy, buffering. The people are fighting back, not with violence but with policy. So far, 15 states plus the District of Columbia have pledged their allegiance to the popular vote winner. That's 196 of the 270 needed to win. No constitutional amendment required, just more states joining the pledge. California, Illinois, New York, Washington, blue states, mostly, are leading the charge. If this movement succeeds, the Electoral College would be, in practice, bypassed. Finally, one voter equal one vote. What a concept! The Electoral College was born from compromise, shaped by inequality, and preserved by political inertia. It's been bent, stretched, gamed, and weaponized. So maybe the real question isn't, why does it exist? But how much longer will we let it? Democracy is not a spectator sport. Thanks for watching, and next time you vote, remember, you're not just choosing a candidate, you're also playing chess with a 200-year-old ghost. If you've enjoyed this video, please click the like and subscribe buttons. To get your own copy of Corporticians and Revolving Doors of Power, please visit Amazon, Books, Barnes & Noble's online bookstore, or visit clevelandkelly.com. That's KELLY.com. Please keep an eye out for the next episode of Corporticians and Revolving Doors of Power. It will summarize Chapter 5, The Lobbyists. Thank you for your time.